Good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible to all of you? Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Okay. So we'll start the session now. It's already 3:11. Let the students join in between the session. So we'll continue the research class. Is the slide visible to all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we were discussing about the review of literature. So while writing the literature, no, you have to go through you have to search, as I discussed about the primary source. Who is the primary source? The individual himself, the autobiography written by the individual himself, that can be taken as primary source. Other than that, anything, a diary of anybody, or somebody has written to somebody's, I mean, on another person's autobiography, then all their visits, then different research material, I mean records, all that you can take as secondary source. So where you will get the literatures, research literatures, you have to search different search engines like Google Scholar. Then you have to search Sinal, PubMed, all those internet search engines you have to go through, and you will get your desired research articles. So why when you are searching the review, because one article may be 10-15 pages, but always when you are searching literature, you keep one diary with you. Just start with the author of the person, I mean author of that article. You just mention the names of the authors and the year, the um, I mean journal name, then the article name. You just write down the volume, the year of the publication, that journal, and the page number. All that you have to write first, because it will helpful for you to add in the references. And then you write the objective of the study, where the study is conducted in methodology. You have to mention the setting, the methods used, the tools they have used, number of participants, or study sample, how many that you need to mention. Then how they have taken plan for the data analysis, that what calculation they have made, that also you have to write. Then again comes the result. So it's what is suit to your study, not the whole result you'll write. What suits to your study material. That means your characteristics, sample characteristics. If it matches, then also you'll write those findings. Then the statistical calculation and the findings the person has made, that you have to mention. Okay. So uh, you have to write down all the in that diary, the whole 10 pages article, research articles, you can concise to a paragraph. So that is the review of literature you will do, starting from the identifying the problem till the conclusion or writing the report. That is very important. Then you come to the research process. First of all, there are so many phases of the research process. The conceptual phase, as I said, you have to formulate the research problem in the conceptual phase. Then determine the objectives of the problem. As I said, you have to identify a problem. For example, if you want to see effectiveness of a booklet on anemia among the adolescent girls, you have to develop a information booklet from definition of anemia to till the management. So you have to write the booklet with pictures so that it will be interesting for the adults and girls to read, and in the post test they will give good result if you make the booklet very interesting and attractive to read, and also logical link must be there in between the paragraphs. Then so you have to develop the objective in that. First of all, to develop the information booklet on anemia. Then second one is to see the effectiveness. So how will you know the effectiveness? Once you will do the pre-test, that means the existing knowledge on anemia of adolescents you will collect with this questionnaire. Again, on the post test, I mean on 8th day, and sorry, on day one you have to collect the data. I mean assess the knowledge of the adolescent girls on anemia using the questionnaire. Then you will give the booklet. Then on 8th day you will again do the post test. So that is the effectiveness you will see comparing the pre-test and post-test. So similarly, another objective also you can frame this post is it matching or is it have some association to the educational experience, education of the adolescents. I mean, their media exposure. If they have learned something from the media on anemia, that may help them to write the answer. So, which is the variable it is matching or it is associated with or not? That again you can see by framing a third objective. That's to determine the association of the post test score knowledge score of the adolescent girls on anemia with the selected variables. Selected variables you can take to their age, can because of the maturity, or they know, or the type of family. Is it affecting their elders, or the media exposure, is it affecting to gain knowledge, or educational qualification, what the adults and girl is having, um, is it associated with that you have to see. So you have to frame certain objectives, then you have do the literature review literature. Then you have to do the theoretical and conceptual framework. Here, I am not going to different theories of nursing. Rather, what you have done, what you are going to do in a research, starting from the data collection till the findings, all the concepts what you have chosen to the, I mean, in the study, you have to put into in a framework or in a schematic diagram. You have to arrange that, so that diagram will give an idea to all the beginners that uh, what is the study you are doing. So giving at a glance to the on a conceptual framework, one can know, oh, this is the study she is doing. She is doing the study and the to assess the knowledge, finally doing the post test, and the knowledge can be improved or not improved, or she has divided the knowledge score into good excellent knowledge level, then fair knowledge level, good knowledge level, fair knowledge level, and poor knowledge level. So fair, good, as we in average we take, and excellent is higher to that. Then poor, if it comes poor knowledge also, uh, you can adopt any other methodology. For example, instead of booklet, somebody can give plan teaching program. Instead of booklet, somebody can give a manual. Instead of booklet, somebody can give a guideline. So those methods of teaching, mm, uh, other person can try in his or her study. So you'll write for the poor, if it comes poor, other teaching interventions should be adopted, and that area is not included in your study because you are not doing further intervention. You are only giving intervention, that is booklet. You are administering to booklet to the adults and girls. So that is the conceptual framework you are making. Then study assumption, as I said, that may not be the statement which reveals that may not be true, but you have to assume something for the purpose of the study. For example, you'll write in the in the assumption that the study assumes that whatever the information the patient or adolescents they are giving, that is truthful in nature. You don't know whether it has been not tested, whether it is true or not, but you assume that whatever information you are getting, it's true. Then acknowledge the limitation of the study. Since you are only doing knowledge, you cannot know, you are not doing their practice, you are not doing their attitude, you are not assessing. So the limitation of the study is only you are having a questionnaire on anemia and assessing the knowledge. Whatever the content is there in the booklet, only you are assessing that knowledge and seeing the result. Then formulate the hypothesis. What hypothesis will be here in this particular example? That the post test score, as I said, ki will write always when you are taking any intervention. Intervention means doing something and seeing the result. So, uh, so this is you are giving a booklet to all the adults and girls. So that means you are doing something for the adults and to enhance the knowledge of the adults and girls on anemia. So, what will be the hypothesis when you are doing intervention, some intervention study? You just write in a null hypothesis, as I said. When you write HO1 hypothesis, null, O stands for here, it is null, I mean zero. HO1, that means, or if you have many hypotheses, you will write like HO1, HO2, HO3, like that. But if you have a single hypothesis, you can write HO. That is, the post-test score will not be significantly, or there will be no significant difference between pre-test and post-test. So that is the hypothesis or prediction which give a direction that there may not be any relationship. If any relationship exists, that means the post-test score will be higher than the uh, pre-test score. That means here, as you written in a null hypothesis, null means having zero. I mean, no. Hypothesis cannot be. There is no prediction as such. The prediction, uh, no difference. There will be no difference between the pre-test and post-test. But here you wrote when post-test score will be high in the pre-test, you'll write null hypothesis will be rejected and research hypothesis will be accepted. These details of this hypothesis writing and everything, testing of hypothesis is not part of your job. So I think you might not have heard this research in details in your GNM. So I'm not going to details. Only I'm giving an idea how to do that. Then next is research design and planning. So here you will, as I said, you have to write adolescent girls, all the concepts. The problem statement, if it will be written like this, a study to assess the effectiveness of information booklet on anemia among the adolescent girls. So what is an information booklet? what it contains in your study. When you define that, information booklet refers to a form of booklet on anemia you are preparing with pictures or in story form, whatever it is you have taken, that you have to write in your study what it is. Then anemia, what it is to your study. Only severe anemia we have not taken as into consideration. Whatever it is, you will write that. Then you have to write what who is an adolescent girl. Yeah, so if you have taken adolescent starts from 10 to 19 years, but in a high school you have taken only ninth 10th students. So in that case you will write my students are my adolescent girls for me in this study. Don't write me and all in the first noun form. You don't write that. I, we, it should not be written in the research. Only write in the in the present study. Adolescent girls are of these many years. I mean, the adolescent girls are taken from 14 to 19 years, or 14 to 17 years, or 14 to 13 to 15 years. Like that, you have to write. Then you have to, that is operationally you are defining whatever the concepts you have taken in your study, you are defining as per your study demands. Then select, as I said, ki you have to select the study population where you will take the study. Suppose in your place where you are working, suppose any area or Calcutta, whatever it is, any area where you are taking that in that area you are taking all population, means all adolescent girls are your population. But who is your accessible population and target population? Target populations are all population all over the world, 10 to 15 years or 10 to 19 years, all adults and girls are population. But target population only 14 to 15 years, or 14 to 16 years girls residing in Calcutta. But who is your accessible population? Accessible population can be any school. You can write the name of the school. Say the accessible population, the adults and girls who are reading in ninth and 10th class of so and so school are my sample subject, or sample subject for this study. So this is how you will select the study population and select the samples. Then you have to develop the tool, that is in the planning page. So how we'll do the tool we'll discuss in another slide. I'll show you. Then empirical phase. First of all, when you are developing a tool, it's a questionnaire. So always your there will be minimum two section of tool. One is your demographic characteristics of the um, participants, sample participants, and another one is the purpose. For purpose, what purpose you are doing the study. So it's a questionnaire, it's an observation scale, uh, it's a guideline or a checklist. You can ask yes or no to them. So that tool, when you are preparing, you have to validate the tool by from. You have to see some literature, study literature, what type of tool, similar studies they have developed, and that you will take some idea from them, and you can develop your own, and you just give it to experts of different field. Then you validate. So experts will tell you delete these questions or add that question. Like that they can validate your tool. Then once your tool is validated, you have to implement it. See the tryout 10 patients or 10 adults and girls you will give, whether they are able to comprehend the language you have written. Simplicity or simple languages are not. So what they are giving answer, is it very high difficult level of questions? What are they? You will assess and see that is called tryout of the tool. Then you will do a pilot study. Pilot study is a replica of the main study. So uh, a replica of the main study means what exactly you will do in the main study, taking the consent from the participants, obtaining permission from the school authority, then approval. Before that you have to approve your proposal or research proposal from the ethical committee. So then you conduct a pilot study uh, that is very similar but with less number of sample. Whatever the size of sample size you have calculated, say about 50, 60, whatever it is, 10% you take. Suppose your sample size will be in main study 60, in pilot study only you apply that tool or interventions in similar way. Do the pre-test, give them booklet on anemia, then you test for them for on 8th day, or do the post test on 8th day. So see the differences or any problems what you have faced during the pilot study, that will be discussed with the experts and you will correct it in the those lacunas or I mean then the lacunas you have to complete it during the final study. Then you have to do the similar study in the main study after discussing with the experts during after the pilot study. Then final data you have to collect and uh, prepare the data for analysis. That is the empirical phase or observational phase. Then analytical phase, whatever the data means what? Datum is the plural, a singular form, and data is the plural form. So data is collecting information systematically from any organization or anybody or any community, wherever it is applied. So that is systematically when information is collected, that is called data. Then analyzing the data, you analyze the data by using statistical calculations. So how will you interpret the data? The number of suppose if you have got the so got the interpretation, you will make the result. That is you have to give a concluding remarks. That is majority of the adults and girls were of this age 14 to 15 years. Suppose majority of girls, they were not knowing about the management of anemia, so in that area they are lacking. So that and majority of suppose in post test you got result, majority of adults and girls, they have good I mean good knowledge on causes of anemia, for example. So you can write like that. Then you have to communicate the findings by writing the research report, and you can give for the publication. So here we'll discuss with you some of the study design which may should know or should not know. Only I'll just give highlight the designs what it is. Uh, Designs, as you know, this is what are the types of study. One is quantitative study, qualitative study, and mixed method studies. Quantitative, I said that you have to give numerical I mean the conclusion you have to say in the numerical uh, the base. That is called quantitative study. And qualitative design, when you collect the experiences or the culture in a narrative form by or in statement form, that is called qualitative. No numericals you will use in qualitative design. Mixed method, when it contains both quantitative and qualitative. So among the quantitative design, the study can be experimental and non-experimental. So experimental, again true experiment, when you are doing the pre-test post-test design, but you have to do the randomization. Randomization means you cannot take the students who are very favorable to me, or the adults and girls who are known to you. You cannot keep take them. You have to do the randomization, means you have to do a lottery. Whoever picks up yes, they will come to your research study. Okay, so whether she is a intelligent girl or she is a very poor performer, that doesn't matter. Everybody will come by chance, can be included in your study. That is true experimental. Quasi experimental, sometimes you don't purposefully you take, because your study design is studies such, you cannot take by randomization. Suppose I will take a study on cesarean mothers, so purposefully I'll take cesarean mothers not having complication. So my exclusion criteria are those participants to whom I'll exclude from my study. They are mothers, cesarean mothers having complications. So I avoided them. So purposefully I took only cesarean mothers having no complication. So there I didn't do any randomization or any lottery for them to pick up. So purposefully I took all those patients. Suppose you want to do a historical study, that is if you want to do a historical research, for example you want to um, you know the evolution of INC. So for example, so how the INC was started, Indian Nursing Council or your state nursing council. So you have to see the records, and you have to purposefully you'll go to those persons in those time who are involved in starting this council. Or suppose any nursing college, how it was evaluated, the first nursing college of your state. So you want to do the study. So how it was initiated, who took the initiation, who was the then director or the then secretary, and all those are purposefully you'll take, and you'll go to see the records. Then you'll see other techniques also you follow, like snowball technique. Snowball means you'll go to one person. If no, she is alive or he's alive, he will give data to you. You went there and asked who other persons are in there in that committee or in that meeting. So that person will give reference to another person. So again, you will go to the person who gave the reference to another person. So that person again will give another person, may recall another one, and give you the number. So this is a throwing a snowball from one to one. You will collect the data. So that is called also snowball technique. So this is what the design pre-test post-test, as I said. Sometimes if you give some intervention, post-test only control group design, that means you have to have a experimental group as well as control group. So here you have to do only post-test, because suppose some intervention you will do on cesarean mothers. All cesarean mothers who are coming after surgery, they have to have same, they have to undergo same experiences of pain, everything. So you have to start the intervention and see the only post test after few days, maybe 4 days, 5 days, like that. Then factorial design, crossover design, in the true experiment. In the quasi experiment, that is non-equivalent control group design. Here also you can keep a experimental group, and to compare you can keep a control group as well. For control group, you are not giving any intervention. Only for experimental group, you are giving intervention. So similar way, same like experimental group, other than the randomization, as I said, ki randomization only when you do, there is a chance of each sample to be included in the group, experimental group. there is a chance. So that is called randomization. Here you are not doing any randomization in quasi experimental group. Then you have to do the same type of study like time series design, when you give the intervention for 3 to 4 times, and you just record the note the findings in every time you implement. So these are all quasi experimental, two experimental design, and pre experimental. One group pre-test post design, as I said, give the example of effectiveness of booklet on anemia among the adults and girl. It's a kind of one group. You have taken only one group, that is adults and girls, and you did the pre-test and post-test. There is no second group you have kept to match or to compare, because here it doesn't require to have a control group. It is only pre-test and post-test can give the difference, whether your booklet is effective or not. Then non-experimental studies, that is descriptive correlational. Descriptive, I'll give an example of types of research. One is with the purpose. When you do some research, that is basic research and action plan research. For example, any factory or company introduce one product and give a questionnaire to you. Even in social media, you get a questionnaire, sometimes a survey questions. So that's a kind of action research. Immediately, they collect the data from their consumers, and what they know about the quality of the product. So immediately they just to bring the when the, to before producing the second lot, they just correct this as per the customer satisfaction. So that is called action research. Many time we just face in different platform, in the bus stop, in the train platform, everywhere you can get a questionnaire and give the feedback on that. Then if you are using, so then you give the fill the questionnaire, like that you will get the studies. Then case study, we are very much acquainted with the case study on an individual, on a group, small group, you can do the case study. Then ethnography, ethno means culture. So related to culture, if you want to do the study of a tribe or special group, like tribes or different religious persons, whatever it is, you want to know their culture. So that is called ethnography study, and that comes under the qualitative design. Here you can write only the narrative form. The conclusion you will draw, that is in narrative, literature. Then next is phenomenology. Phenomenology also similar, related to the live experiences of the people. So if you want to take live experiences of primary mothers undergoing cesarean section, so that is the experiences what the mother they told. You have to write in exactly in their sentence. I mean, their meaning should not be uh, changed. When you are writing the statements, you see that what the meaning the mother has said, that should be written. The meaning should not be changed. Then grounded theory and participatory action research. When you took something, go to the exploration or in the deeper sense for any study, that is the grounded research. And participatory action research, as I gave the feedback of the people, you take immediately, introducing a product or anything, or a new book, you give as after reading that, you gave your opinion and feedback. So that is called participatory action research. And mixed method studies are triangulation, explanatory, exploratory, embedded design. But I mean, here you can take both qualitative and quantitative study. Suppose you qualitative, you took the cesarean mother's experiences, then on basing to the experience, you took up another quantitative study Suppose the mother mental, it was very difficult to tolerate the pain for 5 days, and being bedridden for 5 days or without not doing any activity. It was so painful. That means the where the mother was, it has not been encouraged to the mother to have yearly ambulation. So you take up on basing to their experiences, you can take up another study. I mean, quantitative study you can do. Start doing them or teach them exercise. So see that effectiveness of exercise on their mm, uh, on promoting the wound healing as well as the reducing pain and also return of the physical functioning. So that study you can take on basis to the qualitative study. So this is called a mixed method study when you take both quantitative and qualitative study. Next, I think this much is important for you. So I wanted to show you when you take true experimental study. When you are doing experimental study, any intervention means there must be control group and experimental group. So for experimental group, this X denotes for the intervention, and this is pre-test or measuring the parameters before the intervention. Here measuring the parameters after the intervention, or whatever measures you are giving. Then the recordings here in control group, you don't give any intervention. Suppose you have done it in one first day and you are taking this recording uh, on fifth day. So you just observe
It's going to
the
find out
control
about
group
that
for
answer.
4 days.
I'll be honest, we just hold our head. I
Hello.
feel with couples in relationships and all of that, it's not like this one. So it is difficult.
Hello, please mute your mic. So in control group, you will only observe all 3 days. On the day one, you have to do the recordings. On fifth day, you have to do the last recording. But all 3 days only you will observe. You will nothing to do with the control group. But in experimental group, on day one you will take the recording, then give the intervention all 3 days. Do you have any problem? So please, somebody should take initiative that so who is doing this. Unmuting repeatedly. Just tell them to mute it. Okay. Then here you have to do
About
the
that, take good care.
intervention and take the recording on fifth day for the experimental group as well. Then you compare this post test of control group and the experimental group. So what is the observation? Sometimes you will get there is there will maybe no difference. If there is some difference, you have to find out. Since you are giving some intervention, definitely there will be some changes when you will compare both the control and experimental group. So O2 is the last post test after the intervention. So post test for control group and post test for experimental group will be compared finally, so that it shows the intervention of your experimental group will be effective. Here, see another design. As I said, only post test design. So there is no intervention, no O1 you saw here, no O1. That means no pre test. control group was observed for 5 days, and the post test was taken in control group on 5th day. Similarly, in the experimental group, on the day 1, intervention started, and on 5th day, the post test taken. So both the post tests of control group and experimental group will be compared, which will give the effectiveness of your intervention. Here, Solomon 4 group. This design itself says 4 group you have taken. That means 2 experimental group and 2 control group. So for one experimental group, you did pre-test and post-test, and same way the control group will receive pre-test and post-test. So for our experimental group, pre-test and in between the intervention will be there, and the post-test. Then again, here you see 2 pre-test post-test group, both the experimental and control. Then only post-test 2 group, that is control and experimental. So there will be no pre-test in both the control and the experimental group. And only post test will be there for this control and experimental group. So you can do the study by using this kind of design also. Another design, factorial design, like suppose you have to apply uh, some intervention, auditory and tactile stimulation you need to give for 2 group. So group A1 who receives auditory stimulation, and group 2 receives tactile stimulation. But you have to give in equal time, like A1, B1. Auditory stimulation here in for the group 1, you have to give for 15 minutes. Again, you have to give for 30 minutes. Again, you have to give on 45 minutes. Similarly, for the group 2, you will give uh, uh, tactile stimulation, that is for 15 minutes, then for 30 minutes, then for on 45 minutes. So this stimulation will be on 15 minutes, 30 minutes, and 3 times you are giving 45 minutes auditory stimulation to group 1, and for group 2 you are giving also in similar time interval tactile stimulation you are giving. Then you see the comparison, which is better, to give auditory stimulation or tactile stimulation, which will be effective in arousal or whatever the study you have taken. So that is called Solomon factorial design. Factorial design. That is 2 into 3. You can remember 2 group, but 3 times you are giving all intervention. That is called factorial design. Similarly, another intervention for pain relief among the cancer patients. So see the pain relaxation therapy you gave to group 1, that is for 15 minutes or once daily. Sorry, here it is once daily. You gave relaxation therapy, then you continued for twice daily, so for some other days, then thrice daily for on some other days. Then for group B, you gave music therapy. So give a music therapy to the group 2, similarly in similar form, once daily, and then for 2 to 3 days, whatever it is decided, then twice daily for next 3 days, and thrice daily for next 3 days. Then you compare which was more effective. Then randomized block design. Yes, here you can give tactile versus auditory stimulation for male versus female infant. So this is what you can compare in randomized block design. So when you confound this variable on gender based, so who responds differently to these two therapies or randomized block design, you can see in like this. Male patients intervention A1 and A1 also intervention A1 to female patients, and intervention A2 to male patient as well as to female patients. So see who is uh, behaving or responding in different way to both the therapies, that you have to check. Then so these are also designs which is very important for you to take true experimental designs. Then crossover design. I think these studies crossover like same intervention you will give to all three group, and you see the impact on all three group, that is called crossover design. Two measures you will take for both the all three group and see the differences, that is called crossover design. Then for non-experimental design, we'll just consider same way you can do the non-randomization in quasi-experimental. I have already explained about the pre-experimental one group pre-test post-test design. So survey, only you give a questionnaire or demographic characteristics and you do the survey. That means you want to assess the knowledge of the adolescent girls on anemia. So you will write the demographic profile of adults and girls in section 1. Section 2, you have framed 10 questions on anemia regarding starting from the definition to till the management. So 10 or 20 questions that you will give to the adults and girls and see that majority of the girls whether they know about anemia or not. So that is the survey you can do. That's called descriptive survey when you compare with urban and rural or adult and young groups. So that is called comparative survey. So you can do the comparison also. Then sometimes you explore something, in one area you don't know about their. Suppose you went to Koraput district or some other tribal zone, you want to explore their reproductive health, how do they maintain, or what are the beliefs and taboos are there. So exploring all those, that is called exploratory study, because it was not in our knowledge or not in on in any studies. You had explored something different which was not nobody has seen, identified those areas. So that is called exploratory study. So this is all about the designs of the uh, different research. I would suggest all of you, when we are coming for, have you received your learning material for BNSL 34 33? Have you got it? Please, anybody unmute and respond. Have you received your learning material for BNSL 33 and 34? Hello? Manoranjan, are you there? Monica, are you there? Anybody can unmute and tell me whether you have received the material, learning material. Okay. Yeah. So you might have seen that uh, activities what is given in the last page. So what you'll do and what how you'll do the research. Some topics you can take and assess the knowledge of GNM student, whatever it is given. So you will do that. And here when you come for the supervisory activity, all the teachers they will guide you and you will do it a small study for 5 days data collection or 10 days data collection. You'll do it here. Okay. So, as I was giving an example of time series, since you are coming for a, few days for the practical purpose, so you cannot take up these studies. It requires a long-term study. So you'll do intervention O1, O2, then you take the recording. First, O1, O2 is the pre-test. Then you give the intervention. Red X is the intervention. Then you take the post test twice again. In 15 days interval, suppose. Then you give another intervention, X plus 1. Then you take another two post test, that is O5, O6. Then you give another intervention, and again with same time interval, you take the last post test, that is O7 and O8. So it's a series of um, data you have to collect, giving a pre-test and all the three intervention, 3 times you gave in different way. Suppose here only you gave, suppose took the example of breastfeeding, you assess the knowledge of group of mothers, their pre-test recording. You just took the O1 pre-test. Again, you on after 7 days you took the O2, but you have not given any teaching or anything to them. Then you gave the uh, teaching to them, physical teaching. Then you take again after 8 days and O3. Then after 8 days O4. Then you gave not only physical, teaching. You gave some demonstration. For example, how to the regarding the positioning and good attachment. All that you added up with the teaching. Here you saw the video also. So this is X plus 1 intervention. Then again you showed some video, the teaching you did, and also you did some counseling. So after taking the post test of O5 and O6, the third intervention you did the teaching. Simultaneously you give the show the video, and you just give the counseling also. Then you take the last post test O7 O8. So it's a time series with intensified treatment you gave, but it may take 6 months or 1 year. So it's a intensive study, and it requires a longitudinal time for that. So it's a longitudinal study. It took many months you may take. So for that many days, that's why it is given time series design. So we'll go to the next sampling. So here it is. Some are uh, some designs. I'll just discuss regarding the non-experimental designs, like correlational design, comparative design. Here, one statement you can understand: a comparative study on health problems between the rural and urban older people in certain districts. So then correlational study, you have to associate or correlate, see the relationship. For example, if I'll see to find out the relation of smoking habit with the lung cancer, or you can write the association of physical exercise and dietary habit with anemia among the antenatal mothers. So here your sample subjects are all antenatal mothers are having anemia. So that statement you can take and see the how many anemic mothers they are involved with the physical exercise and what type of food they are taking. Is there any correlation between that or not? You have to see. Then prospective research study, when you see a mother, I mean few mothers you have observed starting from their conception till their pregnancy outcome or till their delivery. So what infection they are facing, that is called prospective research design. That means till the it requires uh, a future prediction. I mean you want to see what is happening you after seeing a long period of mothers. Okay. Then retrospective, when you go back or past of the individuals. Suppose if you want to do a retrospective correlational study on the lifestyle practices of the patients diagnosed with coronary heart disease or coronary artery disease. So here you have to go to the past records. How many times they are doing the exercise, what type of food they were taking, how often they are taking rest. So had they any disease condition previously or not. So all that, how many times they had suffered from any chest pain or not. So all these are retrospective. I mean, you want to do the to get the information current on current phenomenon, why it happened or how they developed this coronary artery disease. You have to go to the past of their lifestyle. So that is called retrospective design. Then cross sectional design, when you take awareness on swine flu among the people of an area. So you took everyone, awareness among the students, awareness among the homemakers, awareness among the adult groups. So you take all strata, you include them as the study participant, and this is called cross sectional study. From the different groups you collected the data. Then longitudinal study, it is a for an extended time period you are collecting the data. So here one example I can give: perception of nursing students towards the profession from the beginning of the nursing program to its end. So what is the, so you have to observe for 4 years or observe for 3 years of GNM students to have their to get their data on this particular study. So this is all about the types of design, how we'll choose and how we'll do the study. So I was just, you can get the example of this phenomenological study on live experience of tsunami victims or COVID-19 victims of COVID-19. So you can take their live experience, COVID-19 survivors, cancer survivors. This live experience is the known as phenomenological study. Then these are all qualitative studies. Then grounded theory research on the adaptation level of people with post-injury permanent physical disability at AIMS. So what is this is totally grounded, and you want to develop the uh, go to the roots, why, how it happened. So you just explore that. That's what in a narration form it is called grounded theory. Then historical research on development of nursing in India or any college in your state, renowned college, or you want to do the evaluation of INC, whatever it is that when you go to the history and identify the past consequences to develop certain things, that is called historical research design. Case study, everything you know will go directly to the sampling. So what is sampling? That is a process of selecting the population. How will you select the population? From the entire population. Entire population, I gave an example that um, that anemic, all adults and girls with anemia, they are the population. I mean adults and girls, all adults and girls with anemia. But here you have to take your own area, I mean target population, where all the entire group of people, uh, the researcher wishes to conclude the findings. Generalize means drawing a conclusion. They are called target population. And all adolescents we having anemia. Then accessible population, uh, all adults and girls of that particular area is the target population. Accessible population, where you want to take the study. I mean, you want to do the study in a particular school or college, that you have to mention here. They are only accessible because that is near to you, and that setting is familiar to you. That's why you have taken that population. So you are not also taking all students from that, suppose they are 150 in ninth 10th, you are not taking all 300 students. So you have to choose again randomly means all students, you will take all names, you will make a cheat for all names, all 300 students. So the students will pick up for their name, or you can blindly put a tick mark. You don't know anybody of that school, so you just put blindly and put a tick mark. So whoever comes in that ticking, I mean every three you marked. So every three mark you mark means give a put tick. That means third three, then sixth person, then the person name who is on the ninth one. That in that order you will take. So you collected 100 sample out of 300 students. So sample is chosen. The sample, all of you know, it's a representative of the or subset of the population. So subset of the population which is used for the study as a whole, you will take the sample. So here you just see among these many population, only 6 sample it has been shown in the circle. So that means how you see collected, maybe with randomization, or doing the cheat, or doing the uh, any selection randomly. If you have chosen, then it is called that is the sample you have to take. So all the individual members of the population whose characteristics are measured, they are called elements, or constitute the sample, and they are called elements of the study. Then you will go to the sampling frame. Here, as I said, sampling frame means a list of elements you will bring. As I said, you will bring a list of students from their register, 9th and 10th class students. Then you have to put the tick mark. You just keep them in order and put the tick mark on every fifth or every fourth, so that you will get the population. So you may collect 100 or 80 or 50, whatever it is, by giving every 10th. If you are giving, you will get 30 population. So similarly, you will do the randomization. So the process of selecting the sample is known as sampling. So sampling can be two types. One is probable sampling, and one probability sampling techniques and non-probability sampling techniques. Probability includes simple random sampling. As I said, it's a kind of random sampling. So when you put the cheat for a yes or no, those who put the keep the cheat with yes, then they can be included as sample. Those who are no, they will be excluded. So here also there will be no biasness. You are not biased. He is a very good student. He is very poor students. You don't know them, and you selected the students by a cheat, by lottery system. So that is called simple random sampling. Systematic sampling when you choose the I mean individual from every fifth, as I said ki you have to make a sampling frame and select every fifth or every 10th or every third. So that is called systematic sampling technique. Then stratified sampling technique. Stratified is known as when you go to a community. So you take the sampling, you'll do uh, the entire population into, you'll divide into different homogeneous group or different strata. Then you will collect the, you'll choose the sample. Like homogeneous sample, for example, you will take gender, you'll see the gender, religion, socioeconomic status, diagnosis, then type of institution or type of care, type of registered nurses, whatever it is. On basing to that, when you are identifying the population, that is called stratified sampling technique. Then it is called cluster sampling. Suppose you want to do a study on your city, or you need to identify the schools. How will you identify the school? If your town or you are in a big city, there are so many schools. So you are here. You have to divide into different cluster. Suppose the north and south and zone type. Then you put a cheat on that. So the cheat came south. In south zone, how many schools? Again, you have to list down the schools and put the cheat. Three cheats you will pick up, because if three schools you have to take. So past three schools which comes on the lottery system, you will take them as a sample. You will take them as a site. All the students or the students of only 9th 10th will be taken from those three schools. So that is called cluster sampling. So you just divided into different cluster. Then you, because it's a large populated area, and you collected, you just again specified the area out of the cluster and choose the sample on that. So this is all called probability sampling. Then next is non-probability sampling. As I said, purposefully when you are taking, it's a non-probable sampling. So non-purposefully, as I gave an example, that when you are taking only cesarean mother and not having complications, it is purposeful sampling, purposive sampling. Convenient sampling, the suppose you are doing some study on staff nurses, you took the staff nurses who comes, to whom it is convenient, the time is convenient. Suppose you are collecting data in the morning, so all morning nursing officers, they will attend for data collection, but you can take them. But those who are in night duty or in different shift, you cannot take, or day shift, you cannot take them. So this is called convenient sampling. Then as I said ki snowball sampling, you will take snowball sampling means uh, here, as I gave an example, if you are doing some historical study, you'll take the person who is alive, who knows how the organization was established. So you went there, you went to him. He again gave a reference to another person. So this way, when you are touching everyone who are involved in that particular um, uh, mm, thing to establish, then you can take them as sample, and that is called snowball technique, throwing the ball from one individual to another individual. Then another sampling technique is multi-stage. When you include two to three sampling technique in together, that is called multi-stage sampling. Because first of all, purposefully you took the area where you want, then you make the cluster, then you specified again, took the random sampling, how to choose the schools. So it is a kind of multi-stage random sampling. Then next we will go to, I think only quota sampling I'll tell you. Again, a consecutive sampling, it's more like a convenient sampling. So the as per your time and the subjects who are available or the participants who are available, as you cannot go for data collection in the night. So whoever in the morning they are there, you can take them as the sample subjects. So that is called uh, convenient or consecutive sampling also. So quota sampling is the last one in non-probability sampling. So here the researcher ensures equal or proportionate representation of subject depending on which trait it is considered on the basis of the quota. Suppose quota usually based on age, gender, education, race, religion. So you took 10 samples or 25 first year students, another 25 from the second year students. So you just give equal quota to every batch. Then 25 from third year and 25 from fourth year students. So equal representative you took for the for any study to collect data. So that's this called quota sampling. So I think this is all about the sampling. We'll just close this slide and we'll go to the data collection in our next page. I mean next slide. So what are the methods of data collection? How will collect data? You know about sampling and design. So how will collect data? As I said, when you systematically collect some information, it is called data. Data is the plural form and datum is the singular form. So data sources can be primary sources, as I said, the uh, particular people, objects, programs, institution having their own biography, diaries, letters, memories. All these are primary people directly when you go, or object from when you observe, that's called all primary sources. But secondary sources, their biographies, diaries, letters, memories, who was written by somebody else, and the journals, magazines, newspaper, all other sources are called unpublished theses, unpublished dissertations, then research articles, officials, patient records, all these are called secondary sources. Coming to the selection methods of data collection. So how will select the methods? First of all, you will know the nature of the study, then what type of research subjects you are taking, then see the time frame, then type of research study you are taking, then literacy level of the people, because if you have given questionnaire but the people they cannot read and write, so it will not fruitful. In that case you will take interview schedule as a method. So interview method can be taken up. So purpose of then size of study sample you have to see, then target population, and then availability of resources and manpower. How can you collect data? You yourself you are collecting, or you have taken somebody's help. So then the researcher's knowledge level and competence is also very important. So if you are doing a big project, you have to appoint some few nursing students as a research associate, give them some salary. If it is a funded project, then you just collect the data, because the questionnaire or which you have framed, it can be only collected by the technical person, that means nursing students, they know what you have written, but general students, they cannot comprehend, so they cannot explain. So you cannot appoint the students from general college. So that is what are the tools you will take. These are the techniques and methods: interview, then questioning, observation is a method, then biophysical method, certain methods you can give in vivo and in vitro. Something you have to inoculate, like those who does the true experimental study in the laboratories, giving injection to the animals and all, that is called they come under biophysical physiological method. Okay, so in vitro, in vivo methods there. Suppose you do some application, local application, so that is not invasive. So these methods, when you will apply, that comes under biophysiological method. Some intervention can be invasive, some intervention can be topical application. Then what are the tools under interview? You can take the interview schedule. You can ask questions and write the answer. You can in opinionaire also you can ask the question and write the opinion of the people. Then questioning, you can give a questionnaire to the sample subjects if they are well educated. Uh, Give opinionaire if they are educated person. Attitude scale, then semantic difference scale, composite scale, or Likert scale, that is called 5 point, 3 point. I'll show you attitude scale. Suppose you will ask one question related to the attitude of the adolescent girls uh, towards adopting family planning, or any primary mothers, if you are taking them attitude, you can write attitude. And all the family planning methods should not be used. If you have written like this, should not be used, uh, before completing the family. If it is a statement, you can write the 3 point scale. If you are writing, you can write agree, not sure, disagree. So you will give the marks like that. Agree, those who are agree, that is there will get less mark, 1, and those who are or 0, 0, 1, 2, and those who disagree to that, they can be get a higher score. So similarly, as per the statement demands, you have to give the scoring. Then visual analog scale, by seeing the if you're using in for pain, by seeing the faces, the mother will tell where I stand from 0 to 110. So 0 to 3 is the mild. If you have taken, then 4 to 6, 7 is the moderate, and 7 to 10 is the severe. So mother will place her finger to that particular faces, that what she is suffering from, because it's an subjective, pain is an subjective experience. The mother has to give the rating. So by seeing the visual analog scale, but sometimes you can also modify this pain scale in a behavioral form. You can write like no pain, when the mother is not verbalizing anything, that I am having pain. Sir namaskar. Sir namaskar. Sir mu class ରେ ଅଛି. So you'll give in a behavioral form. I'll show you how you'll write a pen scale. You can write like no pen, what it means to you. There will be no verbalization, no facial grimace. You don't see any facial grimace or any verbal. Patient is not complaining you that I am having pain. That means it is no pain. Give 0 to that. Sometimes you will give mild pain. Patient has no grimaces over face, but patient is verbalizing, I am having pain. So you give it to mild pain. So that you give 1. So likewise, you will give the scoring. Moderate, when patient verbalizes the pain, face, say the grimaces over the face, that is the moderate one. Severe, the patient verbalizes, I am having pain, but grimaces over the faces are visible. Then a patient is crying, clench the fist. So that shows the severe pain. So you can give 3, scoring 3. So similarly, you have to define all those things, how you just represent or how you want to observe the behavior or ask the behavior. So similarly, observation, rating scale, checklist, anecdotes, videotapes, closed circuit TV, all that you can observe by putting them. You can see the behavior of the people and you can record. So that is objective recording. So here in biophysiological method, as I said you, in vivo and in vitro methods. So in vivo, when it is outside the body, you'll write that is in vivo. Then in vitro means when you do some invasive procedure, that is called in vitro. Okay. Sorry, in vivo is inside, I mean something you apply uh, in the inside the body of the any animal, that is called in vivo. And in vitro, when you take something and do it in the laboratory, that is in vitro, like a test tube, something you do in the test tube and everything, that is called in vitro. So something invasive, it is called in vivo, and which is outside of the body you do, that is in vitro. Other methods like projective techniques, QSOTs and Vignettes. Vignettes, those who write their experiences or live experiences during their time, so that you can take as a record, or you can collect data from there. What they have written, you can take how many persons they have written similar things. So then QSOTs is another technique also. You have to give a number of settings and the from extreme point, lowest to extreme point, and they will give a mark to that. So this is called the methods, how to use the tools for the different data collection. So, well, I am not going to give the details of interview and what are the advantages. This is applicable for all patients or all persons who are illiterate and cannot comprehend the things whatever you have written. For them, you can take the interview schedule. Then questionnaire methods, all that questioning, types of question, multiple choice question you will give. Suppose you want to assess the knowledge of anemia, you have to give the questions in the, you have to frame the multiple choice question. Give only one answer, which is from the three distractors of you will keep. This is the stem. Uh, you will keep 3 distractor in that, and to the statement, one only will be the appropriate answer. So never give 2 3 answers to that particular question. So if you have written all the answers, or you can write except, so the odd one they will just remove out of that. So multiple choice question you have to develop in questionnaire, but usually in dichotomous questions you have to write yes or no question when you give some checklist or something like that. Okay. So when you give some statement or give to give rating to money or education or family to health, so they tell them to give the rank, which they rank to family, or rank 1, rank 2 for education, rank 3 for money, or they may give rank 1 to money. So what is that? least favorable and most favorable. Tell the people to give rank. That is called rank order questions. So rating, as we usually say, some many a times when you attend the workshops and everything, you get a rating scale. What is the accommodation? What is the fooding and all quality of food? So that you can rate with very poor, or average, or good, or excellent, like that. So considering the importance, you can write some questions like a scale you can do extremely important. So exercising every day, this is an opinion or question. If you are taking for the health, they may give extremely important, very important, they may put tick to any column. So that is what you can write. So Likert questions, when this will be starting from the strongly agree, agree, uncertain, disagree, strongly disagree. If I'll ask a question to you in a attitude or scale, that is person with multiple sex partners is at a high risk of AIDS. What will tell? If they say strongly agree, then they get 5 marks. Then here it is given 1 to 5, strongly argue, but sometimes as per the statement, you have to give the scoring. So sometimes it will be vice versa, and that means strongly agree will be 5, agree will be 4, uncertain will be 3 always, then disagree will be 2, strongly disagree will be 1. So here you see the statement, person with multiple sex partners is at a high risk of AIDS. Yes, those who give strongly agree statement, they put the tick mark in that column. So scoring will be 5. Then if they put tick mark on agree column, that will be 4. So it depends upon the statement what you are writing. Accordingly, you will just give the scoring. So before that, as per your tool, you have to develop a scoring key. So questionnaire you can send by postal. You can tell them to over phone. You can send them through internet. You can directly administer to a group. So this is all about the type of questionnaire and scale you'll use for the mother. So this is an example. So suppose if you will get a semantic differential scale, so assess the belief about HIV/AIDS. So how the persons they believe, cure, to that from 1 to 7 till death. So what ranking or what mark they used to give for that, from no punishment to punishment. So how do they give mark? Social acceptance to social rejection. So where they put their tick on which mark, that you have to see. Next is visual analog scale, as I was saying, the pen scale. The mother, whether they are giving no means no distress 0 to 10, unbearable stress, it is non annoying from 1 to 3, then 3 to 5, 4 is uncomfortable, 6 is dreadful, 8 is horrible, and 10 is agonizing. So, according to the visual analog scale, you can give this and tell the mother to put the score. Mother may give score to 4, to 6, to 7. If your pen will be considered as 0 to 10, how do you give marking to that? So the mother will give 6, 7. That means something tolerable, or something intolerable. Mother may give 9 or 10, like that. So you can give this face also, mother can see and give, or any person who is suffering from pain, they can give these pictures. They put tick mark to that particular face. So this is observation method. Also, you can take structured observation. That means it's planned. You'll go particular time and you'll observe. Unstructured, anytime you will go to that place, and That means, suppose I'll just structured observation. When you go for the people who are trained, nursing officers, they are trained and doing hand washing. You'll go daily to see that. You saw that many of them, they are having the hand washing practice. Unstructured, suddenly, without any information, you went and saw that many nursing officers, they are not following all the 5 moments of hand washing. So then participant observation, they know, the participants, they know that you are a part of them and you are observing their behavior, I mean the practices. So that also you can record. Non-participant observation, you have not informed them. You are standing as a researcher behind the curtain or distance, and you are observing them what they are doing the practice. So that is called non-participant observation. So unstructured observation, you can take log and field notes of the students, anecdotes, field diary, video recording, and you can observe their behavior. Participant observation, you guide them and see the logbooks, field notes, field diary, and video recording of the students or anybody. Non-participant observation. So here I'll show you moderate behavior. As I said, no, pen scale already I have discussed. I'll just show you a checklist. So if you want to do a checklist, it is not proper. Yes or no? This is a checklist. So first of all, you will go see that one procedure you want to see. Suppose you want to see only temperature recording among the nursing officer. So, or the home visit, or admitting a patient to the nursing unit. Suppose here it is given. So, first of all, you just observe whether the nursing officer introduces self to patient and family. So, what are the traits the nursing officer showing? You have to write yes, and which is absent, you have to put no. So introduce the nursing officer introduced. So you put the tick mark on a yes. Then assist the patient in hospital gown. No. Patient, suppose the nursing officer didn't assist, handed over the gown to the patient. A patient, he or she himself or herself, they wear their own. So you give a tick mark here in no column. So that way you will get a score. Suppose here is 30 statements and maximum score will be 13. So out of 13, how many correct steps the nursing officer did, you have to give the score. So suppose out of 13, three steps she forgot and only got 10. So you have to write pass is what is the pass result, and what needs to more practice or not, you have to assign here. And how many nurses are doing so, you have to write. So moderate practice, very good practice, and poor practice. So if you have out of 13 score, you have given 8 to 13 is very good practice. Then moderate practice, that is 6 to 7. Then below 6 is the, or below 0 to 5, they are 1 to 5 having poor practice. So you see that how many nurses are having poor practice, and how many nurses they are having very good practices and moderate practices. That will give you the percentage. So you can give a conclusion. In our hospital, maximum nurses or majority nurses having very good practices on temperature recording. Or in our hospital, very all maximum nurses, they are having moderate nurses. So they need to be uh, more exposed to use different uh, tools. They need to use for temperature recording, and that will be the practices can be enhanced, or the skill can be enhanced. So here is the biophysiological method, as I said, in vivo and in vitro. In vitro, as I said, outside the organism, like all the x-ray studies you'll go through, and you'll give majority of the patient or pneumonia patient having such type of nodes in their lungs, whatever it comes. So many in patients having many patients with fatty liver, they are having so and so features out of their liver function test. So this kind of conclusion you can give after studying their laboratory reports. So this is called in vitro methods. In vivo, when you give something inside and observe the behavior of the animals, or the something, when you some drugs you want to do the study on its effectiveness, you choose some human beings to take that, or before the COVID vaccine, some they were the volunteers who went to take the vaccine, uh, to see the to come to the conclusion that it, yes, it is effective one. So those sample subjects, that is called in vivo methods. I'll show you some of the. So here is an example of Q sorts. You can give scoring to different. It is the cards are arranged in such a way you have to put the card according spacing the characteristics of the person. Business are the experiences which is written, or their memories which is written in a which is presented in written form. So here the demographic characteristics you can develop for the sample subject, writing their age, religion, then occupational status, educational qualification, then food habits, habitat, urban rural type of family, then habits they have, and again whether they have I mean, as per the topic they have taken, had you performed antenatal exercise, then gravid also. So observational checklist for physiological parameter. See, if you are measuring, this is a kind, you are doing only post test study, you are observing these parameters for fifth or sixth, seventh, eighth day, and you are giving a conclusion on the at the end of the eighth day. Suppose you are giving an intervention, so your intervention is structured care is different than the written care. So you gave the care and saw for eighth day, and then you just uh, see the eighth day calculation, how many scores, what scores they had. So here it is written all the physiological parameter with normal value. Any deviation they will get 0. I mean, all normal is 1. So that's what you will get the score in a quantitative form. You will get what the physiological parameters of each individual. Here I have written on wound assessment scale. So see the wound assessment, how it has been given. Wound assessment includes both pain scale and wound healing. So pain, no pain, mild pain, moderate pain, and severe pain. For wound healing, three parameters. The study has taken: tenderness, oozing of fluid, and bleeding. So here, wound assessment. If there is no pain, no tenderness, no oozing, no bleeding, definitely they will get a high score. If there is tenderness, I mean, not high score. Here it is written maximum score for pain, but tenderness, if it is there, poor wound healing. So maximum score, how much it comes in wound healing? It is poor. The minimum score will be the excellent wound healing, because if the absence of bleeding, it's 0. Oozing of fluid, it's 0, and tenderness, it's 0. So in every day, what it comes? First day, tenderness was there, you put 1. Second day, tenderness was not there or subsided. So similarly, what is the score you give? So the lowest score will be excellent wound healing, and highest score will be poor wound healing. Similarly, in pain, it's opposite. So pain in highest score will be severe pain, and the lowest score will be less pain or no pain. So here is a satisfaction scale. You can take poor, fair, good, very good, excellent. So you can give rating to that or scoring. Poor is scores 1, fair scores 2, good scores 3, very good scores 4, and excellent is 5. So here it is another study with the checklist. So this is practice regarding positive living among PLHIV attending ART center. Do you drink filtered water or boil it before drinking? If they say yes, you'll write yes. If they say no, you'll give a put mark to no. Then do you drink at least 8 to 10 glasses of water every day? Then if they say yes, you will give a put to tick mark to yes column. Then if they say no, you will give the tick mark to no column. So similarly, you have to get the score. So how many of them they have said during total patient, if it is 30, 16, 40, it is 30. So how many of them said yes? 14. Put to the first statement. You come to the first statement. Do you drink filtered water or boil it before drinking? 14 said yes. 16 said no. So maximum patient, that is 53.3 HIV patient, they are not taking filtered water or not boiled water. So majority what they are doing. See here again, do you drink at least 8 to 10 glasses of water every day? So what they said, maximum they said 21 patients out of 30 said yes, then 9 only said no. So 70%, 21 is the 70% of 30. So 70% patients, they said they are not drinking 8 to 10 glasses every day, 10 glasses of water every day. So this way you can do the calculation. So you just how many patients they have said yes or no, and you just see that, and you just do the calculation accordingly. So this is a calculated uh, checklist, but the data has been calculated and written over here. So this is all about the tool. What you will do for the study, I think is a simple study you can take up for the self study. How many of you have seen the self study and uh, supervised activity, self activity and supervised activity from the BNSL 33 and 34? So you just go through that, see what research has to be taken up. If it is a very small one, very simple activities like you have to assess the knowledge. Take one topic which is very interesting to you, and on basis to that, as per the activity it is written, you have to write the section 1 with its demographic characteristic, and section 2, in that you have to frame the questions, multiple choice questions for assessing knowledge of the GNM student. Whatever it is given, you just see that activity, and accordingly you just come with the problem statement in your mind. We will discuss here during the practical, and we'll implement that. Okay. So thank you all for your patient listening. So I think you might have some idea how to conduct a research.
Thank you.
So we'll end the session now. We are getting first batch tomorrow. So I think you'll get the feedback from them also what to do. Okay. So keep in touch with us in the group, and we'll always inform you. And moreover, when you are giving this assignments, you just do the spiral and submit, because many times we are not able to trace the rest of the paper. Few question answer will be there, and sometimes the staples that might have removed, and we are not getting the answers to other questions. So just be careful while submitting the assignments, and it's better to give the spiral binding. Thank you all.